Hey, this is Spencer Brown recording for Module 7, the Human Resource Frame. To begin this video, I wanted to give a little overview of what the Human Resource Frame was about. I really enjoyed this video. It was a really, in my mind, kind of a novel way of approaching an organization and a really just a spot-on way of thinking about it. The idea was that the individuals within an organization do not exist to serve the organization, um, but that the organization exists to serve the human needs. Um, I really liked the way of that it worded that, and at first it made me a little bit nervous because I think that you could take that too far, and you see people get so concerned about in the education world, teacher workload or something, that we begin to make our decisions solely based on that and not based on what's best for the kid. And so I think that the last statement that was made was really important when it said, in a well-organized system, the organization and the individuals thrive, and neither one are being exploited for the purposes of the other. And I just felt like that was just a great statement and really hit to their opening piece about it's about a family with all individual needs and skills and attitudes and communication needs. And so when we really take the time to get to know what is it that what individual needs exist in this organization and what needs exist for the organization, and really begin to wrestle those out and say, how do we make sure that both the organization and the individuals are thriving? And so I tried to keep that in mind as I created my hierarchy. And you'll actually see I actually did a couple because it was difficult for me to wrestle it out. And so you'll see, in terms of pure decision making, the principal is at the top. And what I did here is the higher the position on the chart, the more influence on the decision. And so you'll see that teachers and special education staff are really that second tier, primarily because they're the ones most closely connected to student learning. And so I want to make sure that their voice is really heard, second only to the principal. However, that being said, I don't believe it's a custodian or a cook or office staff's job to answer to the teachers or the SPED. They answer to me, the principal. What I want to see happen is I want to see the teachers feel like they can rely on the custodians and vice versa. So in my organization, neither one answers to the other one. I want them working together to empower each other. So I want a custodian to feel comfortable saying, hey, Mrs. Brown, I've been noticing the fourth grade class is leaving the bathroom kind of messy. Can you help me by just having a word with them about that? I want the teacher, Mrs. Brown, to be able to go to the custodian and say, hey, I could really use some additional whiteboards. Is there anywhere that we're not using some shower board that I could potentially use for whiteboards? Or even as simple as tonight when you go to clean the room, could you bring in 2 additional desks? I could really use them. So I really want that relationship to stay strong and one that can empower each other. And at the end of the day, neither one is making the decisions for the other. That goes to me, the principal. That being said, there are positions like paraprofessionals, as you see, who answer directly to special education. So there are positions of that sort and of that nature. And then you see students answering to all levels, right? The student has to always answer to their parent and to any adult on staff. All that being said, this felt very authoritarian, and so I wanted to make it clear, just because the principal is at the top in terms of making the decisions, they're not at the top in terms of the decisional influence. What's at the top in terms of decisional influence is actually the student, and more specifically, the student learning. The principal is the bottom. It's my duty as a leader to be a servant leader and to exemplify the fact that I'm there to serve the staff and help them serve their ultimate purpose of increasing student learning. And so I wanted to make sure I made this second hierarchy to make it very clear that if I can't just purely sit at the top and say, okay, all decisions go through me. I need to be very transparent about the vision of this school being about student learning, because I want to make it clear that that my staff's well-being is above mine, and I want my staff to hold the student learning and their well-being above their own. And so I wanted to create both hierarchies again to just try to show that interplay there of, yes, maybe the student does have to answer to the decisions of the adults in the building, but if student learning is the ultimate outcome, there's times that I need to grant students autonomy, and I need to make sure that they're learning how to utilize that autonomy in appropriate ways. And so how am I making decisions to grant that autonomy to the students in some ways? How am I enabling the students to make some decisions and really advocate for themselves so that they can learn how to do that in an appropriate fashion? And so, again, I felt like both were really critical to help understand kind of the hierarchy of how decisions would get made in my mind in a building that I was a principal at. I've really appreciated this class. I've learned a lot from a lot of you, and I just hope I get to learn more from you in some classes to come. Thanks.